I found something pretty interesting about MSTR and I wanted to share it with you guys and see what you guys thought. So check this out very quickly. MSTR position close $1,900. I think at one point in my video earlier today, I was up $2,300, but it is what it is. This is what I was left with. So $1,900 on MSTR, and then the big boy, which is the main focus that I had today, was SOUN. I thought I was going to get closer to $8,000 or $9,000. I made 11.9K. In today's earlier video, I think it was around this time, but I talked about a common resistance range. It might have been around this setup here, but it was very simple. Remember, right at market open, it's very hard to identify, almost impossible, right? You're just hoping for, hey, I hope the market's bullish or bearish. So many times for beginners, we make the mistake that, okay, right at the market opens, I need to buy right now. But you don't know if where the market's opening is going to be closer to a support or closer to a resistance. You don't know if it's going to be bullish or bearish. So sometimes, especially within our live trading sessions, we always try to encourage beginners that, hey, stay patient, give the market maybe 15, 30 minutes, an hour if you can, to kind of paint its picture for the day. Is the market going to rally? Is the stock that you're paying attention to going to sell off? Or is it going to consolidate? It was very easy to see today that SOUN was not bullish. It was not bearish. It was kind of just trading sideways. So I made the most of it because SOUN is pretty volatile. From its lows to its highs, that's nearly a 5% move. And you have to think about it. When it sells off, it's a 5% move. When it recovers, it's a 5% move. When it sells off, it's a 5% move. When it recovers, it's a 5% move. When it sells off, it's a 5% move. And when it recovers, it's a 5% move. So although the stock itself from open to close only moved 0.85%, because of the volatility, there was a lot of intraday opportunity that I was able to take advantage of. Being able to buy in from the lows, go into the highs, open up short from the highs, close into the lows. Close my short, open up into the lows, close into the highs. Very simple setup. I just, there's days that it just feels like you're dancing with the market. And that was me today. Not every day is this great for me. I just want to make sure that, again, today was a very successful day for me. 11.9K. I left myself with 3,200 shares. I didn't mean to. I actually was unaware. I thought I closed my entire position and this was still left. So $52,000 is still left shorting SOUN. But fortunately, obviously it's still selling off into the after hours. So it kind of went in my favor, but that really means nothing because by the time the market opens, SOUN could possibly be recovering. So something that I'm going to have to most likely close into the open tomorrow and then figure out, hey, do I want to go long or do I want to go short on SOUN or just scalp it kind of like how I did today based off of market volatility. Okay, that was my recap. Just wanted to make sure because I made a video earlier today. I think I was up like 3 or 4K within today's earlier video. Feel free to watch it. I called out the short setup of, hey, I'm going to open up short here and I plan to cover at $16. That was my plan. The trade played out. Then when I found its support, I went long on it. And then I made the other 2 to 3K. So very grateful for how today played out. Just wanted to make sure that I recap it. The thing that I want to share with you guys today is what I learned about MicroStrategy. A lot of you guys know is that yesterday on January 21st, 2025, MicroStrategy was approved for its new share offerings. For those that don't know kind of like what MicroStrategy is doing, MicroStrategy, just think about this, right? That's MSTR. MicroStrategy itself as a company, the reason it became so incredibly popular is that it went from lows of $30 per share all the way to highs of $543 because it started buying Bitcoin. It started selling all of its shares. It started offering more shares, diluting its investors, right? So as you offer more shares, there's a reason on why, Bitcoin was very close to previous all-time highs, but MSTR is nowhere close to its previous all-time highs. And the more that he continues to dilute shares, the more that you will see this impact, right? MSTR offers and dilutes its investors and borrows at 0% interest so it could buy Bitcoin. The only people that it really benefits is itself during a bull run. As soon as Bitcoin begins to start crashing, I'm not saying that it's going to start crashing now because Bitcoin is still bullish, so we have to acknowledge that. But as soon as Bitcoin starts to crash, what do you think is going to happen to MSTR? Just as overextended and overvalued it is now, again, in my opinion, I think MSTR is just going to completely crash and do exactly what it did back in 2021 and 2022. Again, what crashed in 2021 and 2022? Bitcoin. It rallied with Bitcoin, went from $9 all the way to highs of 131. And then guess what? It returned all the way back down to $13. You can say that, oh, I'm just, what is it? Spreading FUD. I'm just spreading fear of MSTR. This is within MSTR's character. Look back to the year 2000. MSTR lost $6 billion when the entire market crashed and was found for accounting fraud. A lot of stocks crashed back in the dot-com bubble. Don't get me wrong. Not a lot of companies were found for accounting fraud. MSTR was. Michael Saylor was. 2022, fast forward, what was the influence that it had during the bull run and the bear run? It rallied during the bull run. This is why when MSTR rallied to $500, I was like, dude, this is great. Make sure you do your part in taking profits. It's not spreading FUD. It's being aware of what has happened in the past before, because what pumps exponentially will always correct itself. When Bitcoin crashes, MSTR will most likely crash as well. I think this crash can even be worse because now this time MSTR owns even more Bitcoin and is even more leveraged. So what will be the impact to Bitcoin then? Because remember the whole FTX scandal? When FTX went down, that company was worth $32 billion. But the domino effect of that company going down impacted the entire crypto industry. What do you think is going to happen if MSTR goes under after Bitcoin begins to crash and investors start to point the finger to Michael Saylor? Again, Bitcoin is not crashing yet. I'm just making you aware of what has happened in the past, so you're not saying, I'm just pulling this out of thin air. The only people that are pulling things out of thin air are the people that are telling you that Bitcoin's going to go to $250,000 by the end of 2026. Why? Why is it going to go to 250,000? Because of the weather? It makes absolutely no sense. You have no merit, no fundamentals on what and how you're coming up to a 150% gain from where we're already at right now. So again, when we look back at history, history tends to repeat itself. As we know with Bitcoin, it always crashes. So it's not an if MSTR will crash, but it's a when. When Bitcoin crashes, MSTR will crash, which is why I've been so heavily focused on MSTR, because in my opinion, it's just a ticking time bomb, right? Once that trigger is fulfilled, we know exactly what's going to happen with this. But now, we're pumping. And as long, we were. Bitcoin as of right now is pulling on back. If Bitcoin retraces back to $90,000 per coin, then MSTR will most likely retrace down to $300 per share. And just like I did last time, my LPP team and myself will open up short and ride this bad boy all the way back down, and we'll take profits because we know a common support range for Bitcoin is often 90,000. And if it finds a support there at 90,000 and begins to recover, then of course I want to do my part of making my money shorting and then bouncing. I take profits and let the thing recover and just wait for the next setup. We're not bag holders. We don't hope for something to happen, and we don't pull price projections out of thin air, right? The other thing that I also want to bring to your attention is the way that it passed. The proposal passed by a 56% approval rate, bolstered by the CEO, Michael Saylor, 47% voting power. So you're telling me he only got 9% of the vote? He only needed 9% of the vote to get this approved. Well, what exactly did he get approved? Regardless if I agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. He did get it approved. I just want to show you what everyone is saying. He runs and has 47% of the voting power. It was a 56% approval rate. So it wasn't by a landslide, but it was 56%. Michael Saylor has 47% of that. I just want that to sink in of, hey, how confident is the team about him diluting more investors to buy more Bitcoin? As of right now, Michael Saylor's MSTR owns $47 billion worth of Bitcoin. This sounds like an amazing idea during a bull run. It sounds like a terrible idea, possibly a nightmare during a retracement. Now, again, this will pretty much mean that he will go from his 330 million shares to a staggering 10.3 billion shares. This would put him, this is the crazy part, this would mean that Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy will have more outstanding shares than NVIDIA, Apple, Google, and Amazon. That's crazy. You're telling me that this individual is diluting his investors so much that it will have more outstanding shares than all of the 4 most valuable and biggest tech companies in the world. Again, this is your boy, Michael Saylor. So when you ask yourself a very simple question, why is it that when Bitcoin came back to previous all-time highs of 107, why did MSTR not even get close to its previous all-time highs? Why was it still down 27%, 25%? Why was it still down 25%? Because the shares are diluted and hype is fading. And as more shares get diluted, then you have to remind yourself, you will see less of an influence that it has on Bitcoin. All MicroStrategy is doing is using you guys as his investors to be able to borrow against your shares that he continues to dilute to buy Bitcoin at 0% interest. And again, if you truly believe in Bitcoin, then buy Bitcoin itself, yourself. Why are you buying it through a software company? Because that's what MicroStrategy is, through and through. But imagine this. You run a publicly traded company like MicroStrategy, but your company is so incredibly shitty that you're like, hey, actually, things are not going too well. Let's just start buying Bitcoin. Let's just start buying Bitcoin. Things are going so terrible. We're trading at $6 per share. Screw it. Let's just start buying Bitcoin. Elon Musk would never do that. But why? Bitcoin's so valuable. Why wouldn't Elon do it? Is Michael Saylor a genius? No, it's a Hail Mary that played out very well with timing, right? He was able to hoard a lot of money because the company is publicly traded, and with his ability to be able to borrow against his shares, he was able to borrow at 0% interest. And he put himself in a position where when the bull run hit back in 2021, it rallied. Then it crashed, but then we rallied even harder. Again, you can try to come up with any excuse on why you think this time it's different. I'm just here to present to you why I think MicroStrategy is incredibly risky. You, as an adult, can choose to do whatever it is that you want. If you want to continue to hold because you think it's such a good deal, I wish you nothing but the best. But you understand that your shares are being diluted. You understand that he's borrowing against your shares at 0% interest. You're going to be going from 330 million outstanding shares to 10.3 billion outstanding shares. Why, if what he's doing is so innovative, why isn't Elon doing it? Why isn't Jeff Bezos doing it? Why isn't all these other companies like Mark Zuckerberg with Meta doing it? Why wouldn't they just say, screw it, they have larger companies, why not borrow against their shares and their investors? Because they have an actual business that brings value and that is valuable within itself. But MicroStrategy did not. This was, in my opinion, their last resort. They're able to borrow against their investors. They went for the Hail Mary, and don't get me wrong, it has paid off so far. But one thing is certain, Bitcoin always crashes. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. So will you be someone that holds during the crash as well? We don't know when the crash is going to happen. But again, you can't be surprised. Oh my God, Bitcoin's crashing and so is MSTR. Why is this happening? You know why? It was always bound to happen. You were aware of it. Your job is not to avoid risk. Your job is to manage it. I wish you guys nothing but the best. I wanted to share what it is that I found about MicroStrategy. I found it to be pretty interesting. I just think it's fascinating that he passed by 56% of votes, but he manages 47% voting power. I thought that was kind of like the cherry on top. So you do with that information as you please. I wish you guys nothing but the best, and I'll see you tomorrow for our live trading session. If you want to tune on in to watch me trade live, second link in the description down below. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access, and I trade right at market open. I'll see you then. Take care, team.